Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Let's go!
Welcome to the Life of Ice podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin. On this episode, I have Sara Kempner. Sara is a Canadian photographer and outdoor enthusiast who's passionate about her work. Landscape photography was her first love. She spent countless hours learning to use the camera in nature, where the inspiration is endless and she feels most at home. Sara has a personal love for action sports, so she naturally progressed that into a career in sports photography. She loves to blend landscape and action photography by taking images that display both natural environment and athleticism. At the events and races, Sara loves to be in the heart of the action, capturing the split-second moment that tell a story. She grew up on Vancouver Island and enjoyed an upbringing influenced by oceans, mountains, rivers, and lakes. At heart, she is still that barefoot kid running along boulders and driftwood to see how far she would get without touching the sand. Sara is forever exploring the depths of photography, preferring to avoid labels and push creative boundaries. Now let's hear a word from our podcast partner and get to the show. The Life of Ice podcast is lit by Harlow. Harlow is on a mission to empower creators to elevate their creativity with lighting kits made to last and built to inspire. These lights are bold, beautiful, and powerful because Harlow believes that your lights deserve to be seen. To learn more, follow them on Instagram at Harlow Creators or online at www.harlow.com, and don't forget to use our discount code Tyson10 to save 10% on your order.
How did you find me, by the way?
I put out a call I really wanted to get more action sports photographers, skateboard photographers, mountain bike, things that are not only something that I love, that were huge parts of my life. I just feel like the stories from people like yourself are amazing. And all of a sudden this, I can't remember his name. He sent me a DM. He's like, she has to be on. And I was like, I hadn't heard of you. And I started looking at where you've been and what you've done. And I was like, yep, I agree.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm pretty new, honestly. I mean, we can talk about that a bit, but yeah.
I just sent you the DM and I'm like, hey, I have this show. This is what we do. If you're interested, cool. Let's chat. You know, and that's how, I mean, one of my idols in skateboarding was Steve Caballero. Mm-hmm. So to get him on, like when I first started it's probably one of the hardest ones for me to do because I've followed him for so long that I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm like 13 or 14 episodes in at the time. This whole thing is just because I feel like every photography podcast does three things. Mm-hmm. They talk about the gear, they talk about the project or the book, and then they just talk about, like, they don't really give story. They talk about their process of doing things. So for me, I wanted to do a mental health connection and I wanted to share stories. Mm-hmm. So that's how this whole thing started. Phys stands for Photography Heals Your Soul. Oh, okay, cool. Because when I went through a really, really rough time basically from 2015 until COVID started. So it was like, wow. And so right before COVID, I picked up a camera for the first time and it's turned into 6 years of amazingness.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you were that new into it as well.
Yeah. No, I'm a rookie, you know. And then Blair knows you, so yeah. He was like, "Oh, that's cool. I can't wait to listen to that one." So it was kind of a neat, weird connection. I've known Blair for 4 years now. So
yeah, I just randomly ran into him on a beach. We both had our cameras, and there was orcas in the area, and you know, you see another person with a camera, you're like, hey, who are you? So, yeah.
You guys are in the same area? I noticed you guys are mention the same tour company all the time, so.
Yeah.
Perfect.
My name is Sara Kempner. I was born and raised on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, in the Comox Valley. So I was a beach kid. My parents bought this raw piece of land, beachfront, way back in the day before beachfront property was very, very expensive. So I grew up in a little cabin on the beach, and my childhood was spent, you know, fishing for bullheads and building rafts and climbing trees and all that cool stuff before phones and internet. So I think that's really influenced my photography later on in my life. I didn't really pick up a camera until maybe 2015 or so. I had an old Rebel T3i. I think my mom gave it to me, and we got a golden retriever. We'd moved to Cumberland, and I was just out walking him in the forest a lot. And one day I brought my camera and took some really horrendous photos. And I got back and I was like, oh, how do I make this better? And jumped on the internet and kind of researched a few things. And that just got me into the whole wormhole of photography. And I kind of got obsessed from there. So I spent hours and hours out in the Cumberland forest just learning how to use my camera. And that's what really inspired me to get going. I liked the quiet of it. I have a very busy brain. And so I found when I was out there, all of a sudden 3 hours could go by and I haven't thought of anything else or stressed about anything else or worried about anything else. I'm just out there working on settings and compositions and chasing light. And that's what really made me fall in love with it. Yeah, so just walking my dog with my camera is how it all started.
It's amazing. I have a very active brain as well. I
Yeah,
think most people who have passions like mountain biking or skateboarding, our brains never sit still. So for me, it was the same thing. I found a camera. I started walking because I was off work for 3 months, and I would go out from sunrise till usually 1 or 2 in the afternoon every day for 3 months. And the time would fly by, and I'd be like, I didn't stress about how I'm going to pay my bills because I'm not working. I didn't stress about, home life. I didn't stress about my kids. I didn't stress about anything. I just was enjoying the quiet and the things you learn and how quickly you can progress when you have nothing else on your mind except for, how do I make this photo better?
exactly.
So I think that's a pretty cool connection that the forest kind of brought us both into the love of shooting photos.
100%. And then where I live, we have a little local magazine called the CV Collective, the Comox Valley Collective. And one of my friends, Jen Dykstra, had started that. And she knew I was just getting into photography, and she's a photographer. And so she started just giving me an assignment for each issue. She's like, oh, I need a photo for this article, go shoot it. And that was so out of my comfort zone because I'm like, no, I like trees and ferns and they don't talk and they don't move and I can be awkward around them and it doesn't. So every time she sent me out, I was terrified, but each one was such a great learning experience because A, I was having to shoot people for the first time. I was going out and just doing completely different things. And so that's what kind of took me to the next level of photography, especially incorporating people. I live in Cumberland, BC, which is a mountain bike crazy town. We have Riders Pizza, we have the Riding Fool Hostel. Like we're really mountain bike centric. And I'm a mountain biker myself. So getting into mountain bike photography was just kind of a natural progression. I was out one day. My friend was in a local race. So I just brought my camera and I had just gone out to cheer him on. And I had never taken a photo of a biker before. And I just stood there and took a few shots and got home. And I went, oh, that was really cool. And then, I gave them out to a couple of friends that I knew, and they were so stoked to get these photos. Even if they weren't that great, they're like, oh, I never have a photo of myself mountain biking, right? So that kind of really clicked in me. And I was like, oh, maybe I should try some more of this. And so that's kind of how I progressed into mountain bike
And
photography.
that's taken you to, which I can see from your portfolios, Red Bull Rampage, Crankworks, and numerous other events. I mean, your mountain bike photography, I love how you can capture the essence of the rider in the eyes. So the close-up photos, everyone I've looked at with, you can see their eyes. It just shows what that means to them. They have that passion in the eyes. They're focused. So very well done. So
Thank you.
do you work with any brands within the mountain bike industry? Like, do you have brands that they'll call you up and be like, hey, we have an assignment here, or you just kind of freelance for whoever?
Yeah, I kind of freelance for whoever. I do have certain brands that I've worked for repeatedly. The mountain bike industry right now, I think like a lot of other industries, is taking a bit of downturn. The commercial budgets aren't what they were even a few years ago, so that stuff's a little bit harder. But yeah, I definitely have riders and brands that I work for. A lot of the time, what I shoot is events, so I'll have, a lot of the riders are sponsored, so then their sponsors will reach out to me and say, hey, do you have photos from this event? Because they want to do social media posts or whatever from that. So yeah, many income streams is how it kind of
You
goes.
have to.
Selling images to riders, selling images to brands, that type of thing. Getting paid by the event. It kind of depends.
So
Yeah.
what's your favorite event been so far?
I have to go with Red Bull Rampage last year just because it was so insane. Um, it was the first year women were invited to compete. And so as soon as they announced that, I knew I wanted to go down and document that part of history.
That is history for sure.
Showcasing women in photography is, or sorry, in mountain biking is kind of what I love to do. The women's side of the industry is really taking off. The girls out there are total badasses right now. It's exploding. So yeah, I figured I have to go down and see this. I got some credentials through Getty Sports North America because it's kind of hard to get in down there. So yeah, I just self-funded my way down. I jumped in my 96 road trek and drove for 4 days and camped on the way. And I got to Virgin, Utah, and I had never been there before. And I got out of my van at the campground, and I was like, I can't do this. It was so hot. It was like 45 degrees or something. And I just melted as soon as I got out of the van. I was like, oh no, how am I going to do this hiking around in the mountains for the next like 8 days? That was a new kind of place to shoot for me. I'm used to the West Coast. I'm a West Coast girl, right? So the desert was new, but getting there and actually walking up onto the course and seeing what these girls were doing was just so inspiring, so jaw-dropping, and just the level of camaraderie between all the girls out there helping each other, building their lines together, and also the component of the female media that were there. I've never seen so many women in media in one place. And the media tent was just like this buzz of insane energy because we were all there and all excited. And it was just the neatest feeling to be a part of that and to witness it all.
Yeah. So for me growing up, like my mountain bike background started in 1991, riding the North Shore. So it was, I rode, there was Danger. He was there. Digger. Meeting Todd was instrumental in pushing me to want to learn new aspects of what was possible on a bike. But there's always one or two core girls that were always there and they were just killing it. Sara Tippy, she was unbelievable. I think it's Cars Evans. She was incredible. But then you have this new crop, Casey Brown, Michaela Gatto, like unbelievable riders who just push boundaries. And I know there's a huge handful, and I've been away from it for a few years, but to see that they're at the pinnacle now, they're at Rampage, and they're just pushing the sport to unprecedented levels. And then you're there to capture it, so you have female photographers who I know, like back when I would race BC Cups, it was always men taking photos. There was no women on the scene. So to see that there's just this group of people that are just really pushing that side of the sport, it's so refreshing. I'm a father to 3 daughters, so anything that pushes anything for to watch women's rights go through the roof and their abilities and their willingness to sacrifice their bodies and impacts and slams, because that sucks, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're just insane. Like, I think the thing I'll never forget is one night Casey Brown had this drop right at the top of her run, and it's like a steep rock roll into a drop, and she hadn't done it yet, and there was kind of a buzz that she was going to try and do it for the first time on a practice night. And so I hiked up to that and we waited, and it was so steep, she had to rappel down on a rope to see her line because, like, just looking over from the top, it was too steep, like it dropped away and she couldn't see what she was going to ride. So we watched her rappel down and assess it, and she took videos and photos, and then she went back up, and then watching her go through the process, of walking up to the takeoff and then on her bike up to the takeoff. And she was scared. Like, she was scared, and we were all scared. There's a group there. Imagine you're at the top of this thing, going to do it for the first time. There's a crowd of people watching, and the sun's going down, and we're running out of light. And it's just like this nervous energy. And then she finally does it. And just as the sun's going down and the light's so insane, and she nails it perfectly. and the whole place erupts, and you just feel like you've been part of this super special moment, and it wasn't even part of the competition. This is in practice, but seeing the process that she went through just to be able to conquer that, and knowing that she was scared, and seeing her fear, and seeing her do it despite her fear. I'll never forget that moment. It was really, really cool. And she only did that, I think, 2 or 3 times, including the competition. Like, it was scary enough that that was it.
Such an amazing moment to capture. When do you have a set philosophy? Like when you go out to shoot, like, do you know where you want to be, or do you kind of just watch everybody and then pick your best plan? I know I've had people on and they're like, nope, I know that hit and I know exactly where it is and I know exactly where I'm going to stand. I guess being new to Utah and that atmosphere must have been, did you find yourself out of whack? Like just not what you were used to?
100%. Yeah. I felt so out of place there. I'm used to like working in a deep, dark forest and trying to find those pockets of light. And all of a sudden, I'm given this huge expanse with too much light. And for that, though, you tried to kind of find who was working on what, follow the riders. It's not like they're running top to bottoms. They're working on one thing, and in the practice days anyway, they're building one feature and then maybe sessioning it a couple times. So you try and hang out and get photos of that. But yeah, depending on what I'm shooting, sometimes I know where I'm going to go. I've shot the Dunbar Summer Series, the downhill series in Canada here the last 2 summers. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I know where I'm going to go on this trail. But I also don't like to sit still, and I'm always searching for something fresh and new, because what's the point of putting out the same photos every year,
Exactly.
right? So
A funny Dunbar
yeah.
cycles. I grew up on 25th and Dunbar, and the original location was 26th and Dunbar. So I used to rake the leaves for BMX number plates and numbers back in the 80s.
Oh,
And then they moved
nice.
across the street from
Sweet.
there, and then the current owner bought them and moved them into Vancouver further. But it was my favorite shop. I used to, I grew up in Oregon, so when I'd come up to visit my aunt, I would try to always work off number plates because they had the Kiwahara plates, and I liked the way they look. So I would just always go,
Yeah.
anything I can do. And they actually taught me how to work on bikes the very first, like when I was 9 years old. Yeah, so it was a
Oh,
cool
cool.
thing. I see also you've worked with Pink Bike a bit.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Yeah, do some race reports. I've done a couple of personal projects the last couple of winters. I'm finding myself being drawn more into doing some more storytelling, more documentary type work, and I'd like to continue into that. So I did off-season projects with Bailey Goldstone, who was the Canadian National
So
DH
fast.
champ, and oh, so fast. And Emmy Lan, who does both enduro and downhill now, she's just absolutely amazing on a bike as well. She's from the Comox Valley, so and I just each winter kind of met up with them for a few shoots and did kind of what their off season looks like. What are their hobbies? How do they train in the off season? That type of thing. And yeah, put some stories on Pink Bike, which they published, which was awesome.
Super
So
cool.
yeah, I really enjoyed that type of
Yeah, no,
work.
it's neat. It's neat to see more of a personal aspect of someone. It's neat to see, like, all season, all race season, they're 100% on. And what do they do to separate, what do they do to separate themselves from the bike for a bit? Because it's just like anything. I mean, if I'm with my camera every single day, which I am, I run into times where I need to find something different. I need to grab my skateboard and go cruise the skate park. I need to do something different to reignite, I guess, the creative flow that I've lost because it's become an everyday over and over procedure. Do you have any other projects you're planning to do that way, like a little bit more documentary style?
Well, right now I'm about to kick into kind of the busy event season. So nothing right now, but I think I'm just going to continue that series of like women specific mountain bikers or any type of bikers. So what they do in their off season. I'll start that next winter again. But yeah, once May hits, kind of May to September is events. And outside of biking, I do some other stuff as well. So, triathlons and things like that through BC.
Nice.
So a lot of busy
I think
weekends and traveling in
so. You
between.
you were actually highly recommended for me to reach out to and have on the show, which I thought was super cool. That people are like, man, no, you need to talk to Sarah. Like Sarah's got she has a story. She's super talented. I wish I could find the page where I got so I can get the gentleman's name, but he was one of the first people to reach out to me. So I reached out to you, and I think you were in Japan when we first connected.
Yeah.
Snowboarding, shooting snowboarding.
Nope, just snowboarding. So that is my personal turn my brain off. I'm not shooting that and I'm just enjoying. That's what I love to
Amazing.
do. So,
So just a
yeah.
straight, I'm just going to go to Japan and snowboard.
Yeah, my husband and I have gone, I think, 3 times now and go over for a few weeks and just hit that Japan. It's pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
I saw, I think, Tyler Rivali was over there around the same time. He kept
Yeah,
posting photos, and it looks like a completely different world than what we see here. As far as the way
it
the
is.
snow is there, the riding, everything seems so different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up on Vancouver Island, so we have Mount Washington, which I love dearly, but we call it cementimeters. It's heavier snow a lot of the time. And all of a sudden, I went to Japan, I think for the first time in 2017. I was like, what is this snow? It's just so light and fluffy and fun. And then just outside of the snowboarding, the culture there is just amazing, right? The food, the people, it's very clean, very safe. That's one of the places you can walk around with a camera on your arm and have absolutely no worries. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's one of our favorite places
Nice.
to go.
It's been high on my list, but I was a single dad for so long that travel to me now seems so impossible.
Hmm.
It's crazy to think like I know a lot of people who are into drifting and they go to Japan. That's their thing. So there's huge
Okay.
drift tracks, like full race courses that happen over there. Um, so I just want to go just to experience the culture. I think that would be such an important and incredible part of my journey. So you have some projects coming up, like you have your Wilds of Waterton, the women's edition. Yeah, do you want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that and what brought that to light?
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I started working with a company called Offbeat Photography. So they're like a travel and education company. Actually, to go back a little further, I had a mentor a couple of years ago, Dave Brosha. He's an outstanding photographer based on the East Coast. He's a generalist. He's so good at everything, travel, portraits, just landscapes, everything. He played a huge role in my development as a photographer, actually, and as a person. I grew up incredibly shy. I would have been too terrified to do this a few years ago for sure. I didn't even like talking to people in public. So I got Dave as a mentor, and he really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. In that he's like, no, you're gonna go talk to the photo club in your town. So he made me do that, and he was running an online workshop during COVID, and he's like, oh, I'm giving you an hour slot. You're gonna speak, and so big part of my development as a photographer. But oh no, and now I forgot where we were. What was the original question? Sorry.
The Wilds of Waterton. Yeah.
Oh, Wild to Waterton. Yeah, so Dave is co-owner of this Offbeat Photography. And so yeah, they run really cool workshops all around the world and domestically in Canada as well. So this is our going to be our first all women's workshop where we're just going to do some landscape photography. We're going to do some wildlife photography. We have Callie April, who's one of the best landscape photographers, and Colleen Guerra, who's an amazing wildlife photographer as well. And we're also going to do some cool things like go on a boat ride and have a high tea, but just kind of get together with a group of women and get out, teach some photography, teach some different techniques, but just kind of have a good time. I find when you're just with a group of like-minded people, it's easier to get up at 5 a.m. to get that sweet light when you're all amped for it versus me by myself in bed trying to set my alarm and get up
It
that late,
doesn't
right?
work.
Yeah, so that'll be Waterton. And then in October, I'll be co-leading a trip to the Faroe Islands where we do the same thing. We do a little photo tour around there, small group, sustainable travel. very, very careful with the locals, respectful, and the Faroe Islands is one of my favorite places on earth. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's so raw, just one of the most beautiful landscapes I've ever seen. This will be my third time going there, so can't
Nice.
wait.
I also think,
Yeah,
like for women to all be together on a women's only photo adventure is so important because they're so much more comfortable. There's so much more
exactly.
camaraderie. Definitely wasn't how that word was supposed to be pronounced. But there's just so much more. Everybody is together. They're happy. They're learning together. There's no worries of, that one person just talking down to people or mansplaining, as everybody calls it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
super cool. I'll put the links in your show notes for that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's going to be really neat. I'm looking forward to it. I know there's some people I know that have signed up and then some new people as well. So, yeah, it'll be great.
It's just going to be fun. I mean, that's what this is all about. That's why we do this, is we enjoy it. We have fun with
Exactly.
it, and we get to learn. I mean, your interest in the way you capture, you have so many different genres that you shoot. I mean, your wildlife stuff is great. Your
Hmm.
landscape stuff is amazing. Your action sports stuff, but it's not just mountain biking. You have kayakers. You get into. I love orcas, so I just saw a picture of orcas, so
Oh man, I'm obsessed with orcas. I was just out on a tour yesterday. I did 6 hours out on the water. It was a bear and waterfall tour, but we saw three different groups
oh,
of
cool.
orcas. And so I am just an orca nerd. Like I every time I see them, it's the same
Yeah.
amount of excitement. So it's
Nice. I
really
took
neat. Yeah.
my oldest daughter. She just turned 30. So when she was probably 5 off of Victoria, and they warned us we hadn't seen orcas in a while, but we'll go out if it happens. And at that time, I mean, this would have been 99 or 2000, and they had 5 different pods of orcas hit at the same time, same spot. And I have old 8 millimeter camcorder footage of an orca coming up right beside the boat, and I've never
Oh,
felt
cool.
so small. Like they are massive.
Yeah.
So I can imagine where you are. My friend Blair is in that area too, and he always posts these amazing orca photos. Have you got to know certain groups now when you see their fins? So can you be like, oh, I know I've shot that one before?
I'm just starting to learn. It's tricky. Actually, yesterday we went out and we saw a huge pod, which was exciting, and we couldn't ID them right away. And then we actually realized they were the southern residents, which are critically endangered. There's only, I think, 73 or 74 of them. And so you're actually not allowed to be anywhere near them. So the second you ID them, you have to go in the other direction. They need to be completely left alone. But getting like a brief glimpse of that pod, which I had never seen before, was absolutely amazing. Just to see them out there and know that they're just so special and so rare. It's really cool.
Now, being out there and being a fan of orcas and wildlife, do you ever find yourself, even with your camera, that you're just in awe of the moment that the camera doesn't even come up to your eye?
Yeah, 100%. Yes. It's an instinct to put your camera up, of course, right away. But then sometimes I'm like, okay, they're too far away that I know this isn't going to be an epic photo. And you just have to sit and watch. And it's just the sound, like their sound of them
Yeah,
going, it's just my favorite sound in the whole world. Like I grew up on the beach, like I said, and we used to camp out down on the beach. And sometimes you could hear them going by at night. So it was just like you couldn't see them because it's pitch dark, but just hearing
yeah,
that through the night, I mean, it's just like a memory I'll have my whole life, right? They're so, so
that's
cool.
amazing. So what are your future plans and goals with photography? What are your hopes? What are you hoping to achieve with the work that you do?
You know what? That's such a good question because I felt like last year, and I launched my business during COVID. So prior, I was working in the school district as an education assistant. I worked with people with special needs in various capacities since I was 21, home care, respite, and then in the schools as well. And so obviously with COVID, all that came to an end, and I had been kind of working into photography on the side, and I decided to just kind of go for it. And so I felt like last year I really hit a lot of the goals that I had set for myself, like shooting Rampage, amazing, getting a job with Offbeat, just out of this world. Like those were two things that I was like, oh, that'll never happen in my life. And then they happened in the same year. And so over this winter, that's been a question I've been thinking a lot about. Like, what does it look like moving forward for me? Because I probably had the best year of my life last year. I'm like, well, how am I going to top that? I even went to Africa with Offbeat,
Wow.
like it was just such a crazy year. And so part of me has really just been like open to opportunities and really trying to accept things as they come. But that being said, there's a lot of grinding behind the scenes, and I'm always reaching out to people and going, hey, this and that. So I'd like to do a little bit more like tourism based work, outdoor tourism. Last year I did a 4-day kayaking, whale watching trip, did photos for a company here on the island, and that was just amazing. I just want to do things that I love and then give people pictures that they love as well. So, again, doing a little bit more documentary or storytelling somehow. I think I would like to get into more of that, however that may look. And then, yeah, just continuing to travel and getting into teaching a little bit more with Offbeat was going to be really neat. So, working on those skills. I have some things I want to work on just personally. I've been having a hard time describing myself. When you have to do like your one line bio, I'm like, what? Who are you as a photographer? I'm like, I don't know. For a while it was landscape, and then for a while it was sports. And I'm like, I'm turning into more of a generalist because I just love learning about different things. And right now I'm kind of obsessing over like wildlife. I love being out on the water and I'm wanting to pursue that a little more. And I'm like waiting for the salmon run. I'm like, I need to go photograph the bears this year. And like that stuff that didn't really interest me as much before, I'm super into right now. So I'm going to focus on that a little bit this year and see where that goes, along with my landscape. But a lot of my income is sports based, which I still love. But at the end of a bike season, there's been months where I'm just shooting all that. I'm so excited to come home and be like, oh, the herring spawn's gonna hit. Now I can go go to the beach and shoot the herring spawn because I'm a nature nerd too. So, yeah, I'm just kind of open to see whatever comes and work on my different skill sets and become a better all-around photographer. I think that's my main goal right now. I know portraits is kind of where I'm lacking, so I need to work on that a little bit
I
too.
find
But
portraiture to be
yeah,
the most terrifying aspect of photography.
yeah,
I watch my daughter, the way she shoots people and can control the scene and the motions, put them where they need to be, the lighting of it. And I have a lighting sponsor, sponsored by Harlow, and I loan her lights, and I'm like, mine don't look that way. But no, I
yeah,
love that because I struggle because I love to shoot everything, but I find myself, I get hyper focused and I forget about other aspects of my photography and then I get burnt out. So my goal
yeah,
this year is to keep myself simple cameras, and go out and just capture moments and just enjoy
yeah,
it, relearn things I've forgotten because I focused on wildlife too much or I focused on landscape too much, and
yeah.
just try to enjoy. The show takes a ton of my time, and as well as, like you said, the behind the scenes grind that people don't see. A 1 hour
Mm-hmm.
show is still 7 to 8 hours of editing. By the time you cut
Of
it and
course,
clean up
yeah,
sounds and make it look good and trying to reach out to people and talk to people, some of these processes are months on it, months before I even see them. I think ours was 3 months roughly.
yeah,
And it's so important when I see, like, I was able to speak to a high school photo majors class here in town, and like you, I'm an introvert. Me speaking publicly in front of people is, at that point, was, oh man, this is going to be awful. But it was an incredible experience that gave me the confidence to keep pushing this platform, and the talks of, connection to mental health, the pitfalls of social media, and all the things that I've dealt with in my short 6 years of being a shooter. I can only imagine, like, once you start getting your stuff out there and you're starting to get known as a mountain biker or the fact you won in 2024 the Canadian Geographic Photo of the Year in the Outdoor Adventures category, right? Like, congratulations for that, by the way.
Thank you.
Like, these things really must start to amplify your portfolio and yourself and your presence. That people, do you find that you run into a lot more negativity, or people being more negative towards you, or are things still moving in the same positive way?
No, I haven't come across a lot of negativity yet. I've definitely had some mansplaining for things that I don't need mansplaining from here and there. But no, overall, I've been really lucky to have a super positive experience. But I understand what you're talking about in terms of like getting focused on one thing. And then it's interesting, like if I'm shooting bikes all summer, I went from Red Bull Rampage, drove home, and then I flew to Africa. And I had been photographing mostly sports and biking up until October. And then all of a sudden I'm put into a landscape mode. And it took me a few days to really, and that's where I started. I mean, that was my first love. And it still took me a few days to wrap my head around like slowing down. And it wasn't reactive photography, right? It was like creative photography and trying to, come up with compositions and slow down. It's really interesting how the brain works like that. Like all of a sudden I felt like I didn't know how to shoot landscapes anymore, right?
Yeah. I find the same with, my life is so busy currently that when I try to shoot things with, medium format film or digital, I can't, because it's so much slower of a process. And my brain's like, we can't stop. We got to keep moving. Let's go. Right. So like, I have to put that aside until I can figure that part of my life out. Because, work, family, podcast,
Yeah.
trying to find time to shoot, which is a very small window. Like, I went out this morning before we met here, and I think I shot 10 photos, but I was like, oh, I shot photos. This is great. But yeah, that my brain doesn't understand the slowdown process right now. Okay, I'm on the move. I got to go. That reactive photography, see something you like, shoot the photo, move on. Whereas when you try to slow yourself down and you know how to shoot that item or that product, but you can't, because your brain's like, no, I just did months and months of on the go super fast. So getting that time back where your photos are just, they don't look right. The compositions are off because you're so used to being fast.
Yeah, and I think also, sorry to cut you off there, as we get better as photographers, and you probably can understand this because we're about the same, like we started a bit later in life, and at first, like every photo you shoot is almost better than before, and you're like, oh, this is a new portfolio photo, this is a new portfolio. And now like my standards for myself are so high that sometimes it's easy to get down on yourself because you go out and shoot and you're like, I don't even want to share any of this. Just because my standards for what I want to be producing are really high in terms of technicality, composition, uniqueness, everything, right? So it's kind of interesting that way, having to reframe that just going out and shooting some average scenes or just getting your camera out and everyday life is fine. And you're not always going to walk away with this portfolio image, right? Sometimes it's easy to get down on yourself, especially with social media, because you're seeing everybody's best constantly be thrown in your face. And you're going, oh man, I don't have anything that's that amazing to post, right? So I actually take social media breaks, especially through the winter when it's my quiet time. Yeah, I go long periods of time without going on Instagram because sometimes I find it super inspiring and I love looking at everybody's best work. And then other times I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, it just brings me down. And that's on me, not on anybody else. But I know I need that mental break from it. So it can go both
Well,
ways.
you nailed it there too. When you said, when we first start, every time we're going out, it's better and we can see the progress. But then when you get to a point where you've put so many thousands of hours into shooting photos, you upload a photo and you're like, oh, this is strange. But because visually our progress is so much smaller now, because you're not really growing, you're not learning anything really new. You're still capturing the photo and it could be fantastic, but you didn't see that progress you had in the beginning.
Exactly.
I'm hypercritical of myself. So when that's the phase I'm currently in, and I see it and I'm like, oh, nah, that's cool. Like, I think I delete pictures off my memory cards more than I keep at this moment.
Well, I think I'm at a stage too where I have, photographers that I consider better than myself, and I'll run my photos by them, be like, "Oh, can you just critique this for me?" And that's such a helpful tool if you can put your ego aside, because obviously we're so attached emotionally to our own photos. We know what went into taking them. We know we hiked into this trail. We know we got up at 4:45, but someone just looking at the photo is just going to see it for what it is. And if you can have people that will give you honest feedback and not just be like, "Oh, I love it." My mom will always say she loves every single one of my photos, and I love her dearly. Thank you, Mom. But having people that will go, "Hey, did you notice you have this stick poking out that you didn't notice, or the color seems off, or whatever?" Very, very helpful in continuing to grow as a photographer.
You are the second person that talked about ego and keeping it in check. I had Ruben Radding. He's a New York street photography legend on. And for me, I try so hard, but that ego part of me, when I post a photo and I'm like, well, why that photo get so much attention? My photo is so much better, and you have that go. So he talked about, you have to leave your ego home on the kitchen table. Just go out and capture the work for you. Don't worry about other things. But I think it's so hard with, as you said, we have everybody's best constantly in our face. Mm-hmm. And you set that bar so high for yourself that you work your way up. And man, keeping that ego in check is a tough one.
Yeah. And I mean, I can admit, like, the first couple times I submitted photos to people to critique, I gave my best ones and I'm like, oh, they're just going to tell me they're amazing. You know what I mean? And then they're like, do, 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 do. And that ego gets checked real quick. But those are the most valuable lessons, right? So, ego is a big part of it. And same with imposter syndrome. As a female who started photography at like 38 professionally, coming into an industry, especially the mountain bike industry, where it is a male-dominated photography industry, working alongside heroes that I've, followed their work for a long time. But yeah, just shoulders up and getting out there and being like, yeah, I belong here just as much as they do. They might have 30 years on me of experience, but also watching them and watching what they do and just learning as much as you can, for sure.
Now, being a photographer who started pushing themselves later in life, do you feel like life experience helped you get over some of those initial, say you were 19 trying to do this? You've had some life experience.
I would say yes and no. My confidence was pretty low for the first couple of years. I just thought, oh, how can I catch up? I'm starting too late, that type of thing. But also being in a secure place in my life and like knowing who I am as a person, I think that definitely helps. Like, I own a house with my husband, and I'm not just like living with 10 roommates and eating ramen and trying to like make it. So that part's been a little bit easier financially to be a little more stable, for sure. But yeah, of course, starting later, I had a lot of doubts, but last year I just decided to kind of get rid of those doubts, and even if I was scared, pretend that I wasn't.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I started later than you. I'm 50 now. So like I started at 45. And this is the first year, after the first year of the podcast, where I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I'm ready. I've been a homeowner for a long time. I'm a dad. I've worked careers. And now it's kind of like, okay, how do I transition career work into, I need more time to push myself in the field. Like I would love to be able to get out and shoot mountain biking, skateboard events. I love cars. So I'd love to start doing a lot more automotive type work. So I work in the off-road industry. So I have tons of photos of off-road trips, but I like exotics. I like Porsches, so I would love to get connected and start pushing myself there. So I feel like if I was to do this at 19, I was so not sure about anything in life at 19. It was a year before I became a dad. You can imagine how that went. But like now, I finally, at 50 years old, this is the first time in my life where I can be 100% authentically who I am. I'm comfortable with every aspect of who I am. Love me or hate me, this is me, and I'm not going to change for anyone now. Where I feel like if I was to do it at 19 or 20, I would constantly be trying to change myself to cater to the person that's showing me the interest. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
Where now I shoot my way, and if it works for them, awesome. If it doesn't, no big deal.
Yeah.
I'll just move on and keep pushing. So
The only time I'm envious of the younger photographers is when we've been out for like 12 hours on a downhill course and I'm back at home editing, like icing my feet and like stretching, and they're out at the clubs partying. I'm just like, nope, my body's done for the day. You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember all the years in Whistler after, every day after a Crankworks day and just being in every single bar until 2 or 3 in the morning
Yeah.
and getting up at 8 to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Now I want to be in bed by like 9:30, and then I'll get up at 8 to
Yeah.
go and do it all over again with no hangover, no nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Sarah, do you have any advice for, do you have any advice for photographers coming up that want to get involved in action sports, landscape, or just being able to teach photography? Anything that you've learned through your process that may help them avoid, one, they can see the ladder, they can see the steps. I mean, they look at what you've been able to accomplish, and there's an imaginary ladder there. There's ways to do it, and you've made it. They can make it. Everybody can make it if they work hard enough. But is there anything you can share that might help that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's not groundbreaking. Number one would be it's just time behind the camera. You have to learn. I feel like you can watch 8,000 hours of YouTube videos if you want, but if you're not out there putting in the work, hiking up the trails, say you want to do mountain biking, you just have to go find a local race and sit there and play. Second, I actually assisted for a wedding photographer when I was starting out. I didn't know much about running a business. I didn't know a ton about photography. This was just before I got into sports, or kind of while I was starting to. Locally, she was looking for an assistant for her wedding season. I was like, sure, let's do this. She's the best in the area, Karen McKinnon, and I spent a summer and then a part of another summer with her. And right away, I knew I never wanted to shoot weddings. Like, that is not for me. I always say now, no weddings, no babies. Um, she loves it. Like, she loves it like I love mountain bike photography. But what I learned from her in how to interact with clients, how to run a business, just how she runs her day to day, it was invaluable. So if you can find somebody to be mentored by. Same thing with Dave Brocha. We live on opposite sides of the country. I was lucky enough to have him as a mentor for a couple years, and he would just keep me accountable for things. Give me assignments to do that I wouldn't just do on my own, or I would send him photos for him to critique, things like that. If you can find somebody, even if it's not in the genre that you want to shoot, that's willing to teach you about things, then that's super invaluable, I think.
Great advice. I also read on your website there that you work with 3 nonprofits.
Yeah, so I live in, again, Cumberland, which is a super small town. So we've got the Cumberland Community Forest Society, where basically our little village is tucked into the edge of a forest here, and the community has come together and we're buying the forest behind the community from logging companies, parcel by parcel. And so they do that through various fundraising through the year. So they often need photos. So I work with them in just donating photos. And then our local riding network, United Riders of Cumberland, do a lot of great work here. So same thing, do photos, whatever they need, give them photos for trails or signage, that type of thing. And then the Cumberland Community School Society, they run a lot of awesome programs in the community. We're part of the Comox Valley, but we're a little bit isolated. kind of across the highway up on top of the hill here. So they run a lot of really neat little programs that people here can access easily. And so I volunteer with them just doing program photos or whatever they need, fundraising stuff, which is awesome because it gets me out in the community and it's a way for me to give back.
And it's so important to support initiatives like that. I mean, buying the forest around your community.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So to protect it, like how cool is that? That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's fantastic. And more people should work for nonprofits. They should find things in their communities to offer their services. And it's rewarding on so many levels.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic work. That's incredible. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, I wish I had more time to give. I was doing photos just in my town, and then I would donate them to the city. Like, here, people may not see our city the same way, but hey, look, this happened.
Yeah.
Or this is amazing. Like, I had this baby duck, and it was standing on a rock and had water droplets, and the sun was sun-starring off the water droplets. And it was the cover of the local newspaper. So it was like, I love seeing that. And it was just a donated photo to the city.
Cool.
But they liked it enough to talk about it. So being able to give back is so important and growing. It's great to get out and you get to know your community members, the people who live there with 100%, you.
100%. Yeah.
So another aspect of the show that we talk about is the connection between creativity and mental health. So how important is your creative outlets to your day-to-day mental health?
Well, I think I talked about it a little bit at the start there, where when I'm out, whether I'm working for someone or just out on my own, that's all I'm focusing on. And so I really love that. I tend to stress out about things. I'm getting better about it now, but I have a very busy brain. And so, like the other day, I just made myself go out for 2 hours in the forest, slot it into the calendar and be like, you're doing it. Because I find these days it's really easy to be like, yeah, I'm going to go shoot, and then I don't. Um, and so I literally put it in my calendar. You're going for a forest walk. And actually, the community forest is putting out a book and they need some new images. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go out for 2 hours and walk around with my camera. No agenda, just see what I see. And I loved that 2 hours, and it's just something that I would have put off otherwise. But yeah, just being out in nature, everyone knows it's so good, good for you, physically and mentally. So yeah, I just love turning that brain off and being connected to the camera and whatever I'm photographing.
It is very rewarding. I realized early on that as soon as I clicked that shutter, there was something special about that feeling. So it started to become, I say photography is my therapy because it allows me to forget and work through anything I have to work through in my head. But also through this show and talking to amazing people who are very creative, who've been very open and sharing with me that it's so important to take care of your mental health on so many different levels, not just crediting my camera for, to me, I always credit my camera for saving my life. I was at the lowest point of my life when I found cameras. But now it's allowed me to talk to a therapist. It's allowed me to work through childhood traumas. It's allowing me to find out that the person that I was always the hardest on and the most embarrassed of is actually the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many connections to a box that captures light, that have opened my doors for me, opened my eyes to many things.
I agree. And for me, it was, I would say, my confidence. Again, I was really shy even up until a few years ago. And so, running a business, you're kind of forced to put yourself out there. And I would say, yeah, I'm the happiest, healthiest version of myself that I've ever been at 41 years old. And that completely comes from photography. I have an amazing family, husband, friend, support system. But just that bump of confidence from really pursuing what I loved, going for it, and kind of getting to where I wanted to get. Like, there's nothing that could compare to that. And that's definitely, yeah, photography did that for me, which is really cool.
Yeah. Anything you wish you knew when you started your business, before you started your business? Like anything that you're like, oh my God, I got to deal with this.
Accounting. I would say immediately outsource things that you you are not sure how to do because I made a mess of things for a little while until I found a lovely bookkeeper who pulled me from my depths of mathing. Um, yeah, so don't be afraid to ask for help in areas that you need it.
Oh, so I should probably do that
Yeah.
instead of looking at numbers going, I have no idea what I'm doing, but yeah, here
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd never run a business before, so there's a huge learning curve there too. People are like, "Oh, it's just so amazing you're out taking photos and doing all this cool stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I am, but I also spend hours and hours and hours at my computer. I'm not a technical person, so yeah, the accounting side of things, building a website, like, oh yeah, what did you do today? Well, I spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to move my logo from one side to the other side of my, you know what I mean? Like, there's just things like this, or I spent 4 hours trying to design a business card and get it printed. Tons and tons of hours learning these sides of things that a lot of people don't really see that's on the other side.
Yeah, there's a big reason my website is still the like hold page.
Yeah.
Is every time I start, you get 2 hours in and you're like, oh yeah, it's going good. 2 hours, 15 minutes, and you're like, I hate this.
Yeah.
And you start over. And because you just want it to be exciting when you look at it, you want to be like, I really like the way it's laid out.
Yeah.
And after 2 hours, I don't usually like what I've already started. So
Yeah.
I move on.
I gotta say, I'm not sponsored or anything, but Squarespace made it really easy for someone like me to build a
Yeah.
nice looking website. And I actually
That
did
was,
hire a copywriter who is a friend of mine because writing about yourself is really strange, also. And yeah, so that made the process a lot easier.
yeah. I am forever grateful when people that are on the show have good about them sections because I can go in and pull points because
Right.
I do the intros afterwards. So I'll do the intro after I edit the show. So then I write it or I move things from there about and then I move it around to make it work in the time frame that I want to talk in. If I have to write it completely, it takes forever.
Okay, I better go look at my about page after.
It's actually really good.
Okay.
It's the first thing I look at when I hop on people's
Yeah.
websites, and there's lots in there that I can make work for you. So
Okay, good.
it's great. We've almost done an hour,
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
right? Like it goes by really, really quick. We'll do one more question. So being a father of 3 daughters, do you have any advice for other female photographers who are just getting started, who are intimidated by the all boys club that's out there?
You know what? I would say just go for it, which is, easier than it sounds, but there are more and more female photographers out there, especially in the sports side of things. And I have found 99% everyone is so supportive. Don't be afraid to reach out to other photographers. I've done that a lot as well. Even just with one specific question, or just reach out and say, "Hey, I really admire your work. You really inspire me," and just create a little bit of dialogue there. But now it's the other way where I have girls reaching out to me, which I think is super cool. And I'm always open to that as well. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm a photography nerd. I love to talk about it. So don't hesitate to ask questions. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is someone might not answer you, but I found the majority of the time people are really, really into helping you and into answering questions or helping build you up. Yeah.
And that's something I've learned too is the whole DM thing. It can be a very creepy place for a lot of people in social media.
Hmm.
So I always found it weird. I'm like, I'm only reaching out because I admire your work and I want to hear your story. And for the first little bit, I'd send a message and I'd be like, oh, I feel weird doing that. But now I know, like, when I reach out in a very respectful way. And I'm like, hey, I just want to share your journey and share your story. So it's so important because I have people who have been there for me when I first started, and I reached out and they took the time out of their day to just answer my simple question. But that meant everything to me getting started.
Me too. Yeah. I think the other thing too is when you're starting out, you have to really decide you're going to do some work for free And you have to really decide if that's going to help you move forward or not. People are always going to want to take free images. A very common thing on social media is for, brands or wherever to reach out and go, "Oh, hey, we love this photo. Can we use it?" And we'll tag you. And when I was just starting out, I was like, "Oh yeah," because you're just excited that somebody likes your photos. And for a while, maybe that's cool. You're getting some exposure, but exposure only goes so far. And so you have to really be aware that people will continue to do that no matter how far you go in photography. And it's okay to say no to things as well. When I was starting out, I was saying yes to everything like portraits, and I was doing some real estate stuff, and it was all great to help me develop. And I was always like, "Oh, it's a paycheck, I need it, and it'll help me learn photography." But eventually, you're going to come to that day where you're going to start turning people down, and that's okay. Don't feel bad about doing that, and really stand up for yourself and your work. If you don't want to give something away for free, don't give it away for free. Like I talked about 3 groups that I love, I'll give images away for free to, and I have no problem with that. But if some big hotel on the island's like, "Oh, we love your work and we want to use it to promote," I'll go, "Okay, here are my rates." So just to be aware, don't get taken advantage of. Of course, do it as you want, but yeah, don't be afraid to say no as well and kind of stand up for yourself.
People need to realize that exposure doesn't pay your bills.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find it difficult when you were getting into sending rate charts out to people, trying to figure out what you should charge them for images?
Yes, I still find it difficult. I feel like it's the great debate for all photographers. Yeah. And that's again, where having people. So with rates, again, it's having some people, especially locally, depending on your market, rates are going to be different. Living in a town of 5,000 people, I'm going to charge certain small businesses different than you might charge in Vancouver for a bigger business, right? Having people locally that you can have an open dialogue with about rates is super, super helpful. I have a good community here where we're all pretty supportive of each other. We refer each other for certain jobs, and we'll openly talk about pricing, which is fantastic because, yeah, it's really difficult. You can quote something that you think is fair, and they'll come back and go, "That's the most insane price I've ever heard." Or you can quote something that you think is high, and they'll immediately accept it, and you go, "Oh, I should have gone higher." It's just, there are no standardized rates in the industry. So
Yeah.
yeah. At the end of the day, you got to feel comfortable with what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, it's been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate your time coming on and sharing your journey and your story. Where's the best place for people to interact with you?
I keep my Instagram pretty up to date. That's probably the best place to find me. It's just at Sara Kempner. No H on Sarah. That happens all the time. But yeah, that's probably where I keep most of my work up to date, and my website.
Perfect. Any final words of wisdom you want to share?
No, just get out there with your camera. Have fun. Don't forget to have fun. That's kind of why we get into it in the first place. A few times I found myself, getting stressed and angry or taking jobs I didn't want. And then I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? This is supposed to be fun. So focus on the fun. And then the rest kind of falls into place.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for your time today. I can't wait to share your episode with everybody. I think they'll get a lot from it. Congratulations on your success last year, and hopefully it continues and grows for the years to come. And then I have one more thing to talk about before we go. I have a project coming up called the Life of Phys project. I'm currently working with a few camera brands to try to see who's going to come on board. The idea for the project is I'm going to get 30 cameras, and I'm going to send them to communities for the youth to use for 30 days. Then I'm going to get the cameras and the images back. I'm going to create contact sheets, and then I have a panel of mentors that are going to talk to the kids. They're going to help them with their photos. And then the children, the kids who showed the most interest, somebody on the panel is going to help through this group. We have a whole bunch of secondhand camera gear that we're going to donate to those that show the most interest. Cool. With a year of mentorship from someone on the panel. I would love, when I get this project going, I would love to have you on to help me mentor some of the female creatives that are coming.
I would absolutely love that. Yes.
Beautiful. I just think you have an understanding of so many different genres, and you can speak on it on a level that I will never understand, as far as, you know, the male to female experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think trying to get a few more females on the panel, because I think it's just gonna take it up another notch.
No, I would love that. Yeah.
Amazing. This is going to be a North America wide. I have people in out of Baltimore who are going to do it, New Orleans, Louisiana, Oregon, and I'm just going to try to really build a community of people willing to help others grow.
Cool. That's amazing.
So I'll touch
I would
base
be
once
honored to be a part of that. Yeah.
I'll touch base once I have all the details and things are starting to go in motion.
Cool.
Perfect. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. That was a good time.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS, or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.